All right, everybody, welcome back to the outdoor kitchen pool area. My vision is starting to come together here as Mike and I kind of work through this. Mainly Mike. I come up with the ideas. Mike executes on those ideas. But the audio stuff is my department here. So we've been running some wires, so I'll kind of show you where the wires are going, what my methodology is here, and we'll work through the equipment, which I'm getting kind of ridiculous here with the equipment stuff. But my plan here has always been with the concept, the Destination OG concept, is that one of the things I struggle with is the availability of this kind of information. You know, Evo grills having information about them, or alfresco or NatureCast cabinets. I did this in my last house. You guys watched me do this in Helen, in Harbor Hills up the street here. And I hired some people to do some stuff, and this was a terrible experience. And so, because I had such a terrible experience, I've had terrible experience with closets and things like that. And so, I'm not transitioning away from the garage, but I'm sort of adding this stuff because I think I can provide some value to the world. And so, one of those areas that I've always disliked, and believe it or not, I was at like the 4th interview with Crestron back in the day when I was 23. This is before I went to Merrill Lynch. I was going to be like a Southeast rep for Crestron, even though I didn't like Crestron because it doesn't freaking work right. I just, over the years, have never spent the money and really dislike Control 4, Savant, Crestron. It's not because it doesn't work, because it can work and can work extremely well. It's because, especially where I chose to live here, there's no amazing programmers, integrators, and you almost have to have them on speed dial, and you have to be like a different echelon socioeconomically in order to be able to afford to pay someone what it requires to get a really great home automation system and to do it well. And so with home automation is generally where you would set up your security system, your distributed audio, if you want to do audio throughout the house. I'm not a big music listener. I don't take time to listen to music. When I listen to music, it's usually somewhere in the background. And so there are certain areas of the house where I would like to have music. The garage is one important area. The car is another important area. I like car audio. And then the patio, the outdoor kitchen area. I do listen to music, and I usually carry like a Dynaudio music little Bluetooth speaker if I was coming out here to cook in the outdoor kitchen. I also like to have TV out here so I can distract myself while I feel like I'm wasting time. So when I started digging into the garage stuff is when I discovered BluSound. I didn't even know BluSound was a thing. We all know Sonos. We all know, Control 4 and Crestron and some Niles and some of these other, these more established systems or more mainstream systems. But I wasn't aware of BluOS and BluSound. And so there's a company in Canada that handles all the distribution for NAD, BluSound, PSB speakers. And so my discovery of the BluSound node and the ability to do the BluSound network led me to NAD. Now, this is kind of like when I discovered Apple in 2008. Now I have everything Apple. I have NAD. How many darn NAD systems have we done thus far? I've got NAD in my home theater. I got NAD everywhere. NAD in my office. NAD in the garage. NAD in the garage back at Yarn Building. NAD in all over Helen. And so we're going to be doing an NAD distributed audio system here in the house. And the magic of this system, or the magic of this stuff, is that I can set this up on my app, no programming necessary. I'm going to have this thing set up in minutes. Once I get all the equipment installed in place, you get all the wiring done, you can set it up in minutes. So we'll go through all that. So anyway, I'll stop telling you the whole story here. Let's get into what we're going to be setting up and how this system's going to work. So TV is going here. We're doing a 65-inch. You don't want to do, I'm an OLED advocate. You don't want to do OLED out here, wouldn't be able to see it. There's too much glare. And so I'm doing a mini mini LED, which is an LCD display. So mini LED, LG 65 QNED 99 is the model number for the TV. 65-inch, we're going to center it up here. And we have the TV center at my eyeball height because it's my frickin' outdoor kitchen, so I'm setting it up at my height. So you want the display to be at eye level, and so the center of the TV will be at, what was that, 60 inches?
69.
Yeah, it's 70 inches, something like that. So TV's going here. The issue is that we need to get, I want to be able to play audio through the speakers. And in order to do that, we have to run, we have to get power to the TV, and we have to get optical. So that's where Mike comes in. We'll explain that in a minute. So then what I decided to do here is I'm doing OW8s from Dynaudio, so outdoor speakers up in the corners. I was torn, it would be better for the TV to do the audio this way. I was torn on whether I should do it this way or that way. For the pool's purpose and for the purpose of sitting at the thing here, I chose, because most of the time I'll be listening to music out here more. I'm not so concerned with the left-right, ability for a car to drive across the screen. This is more for, we can have TV sound play throughout the system, but the main purpose here is music. And so the left and right speakers are going here, and then we're doing the Dynaudio sub RCCs, which we already installed. It's they're in-wall application subwoofers. Each one has 4 2x6 radiators or drivers, woofers, and so there's 4 that fire and then send energy out this way. So the way they balance the speaker is that you don't get as much vibration and stuff through the walls. And so those two subwoofers, I'm not a huge fan of them. We've done them. I've done them in a couple of systems. We did them in the Atlanta garage. I wanted to spend some more time with them to decide if it's a real viable solution for me. I also thought about doing in-ceiling speakers here. If you have the choice, you always want a box. You always want a box with the speaker in it. Same reason I did the speakers on the wall in my house here in the rear. We did some in-ceiling speakers, but speakers that are in a wooden box always sound better. A plastic box sound better than speakers that are in wall. So we're doing the 2 OW8s. This system will be one zone. And then for today, just because I don't have any OW8s, they're on back order, I'm going to do the OW6s, so I'll sell these as a deal here and when I'm done with them. But the big difference is 6-inch driver versus 8-inch driver, same tweeter. So we're going to do speakers. You can see where the wire is here. So we're going to do 2 pairs of speakers firing out into the pool deck. So this pair here will be zone 2. That pair there will be zone 3. So we'll have 3 zones of audio. We could play any one of them in any combination. You could play all 3 zones, you could play 2 zones, you could play 1 zone, you can play different pairs of 2 zones. That's what the BluOS app allows me to do, and be able to pair and unpair the zones. So here's the equipment that we're going to be installing. Explain this if you care about this. All this stuff I can, just email me, shoot me an email. We don't have this in the store yet, but this stuff is going to live on destinationog.com. This stuff doesn't make sense for the garage, or at least in most garages, but we can. This is stuff that you could use in the garage too as a zoning system. This box here, this is called I love this thing. This is called, BluOS calls it the BluOS, or NAD calls it the BluOS Network Music Player. The model number is CI580. This is version 2. This is basically 4 BluSound nodes in one box. There's no Wi-Fi receiver in here, so you have to connect it to the network. So it has to have Ethernet coming from your router. So we pulled Ethernet down from the attic. I took one of the lines that was running to the master bedroom we're never going to use, and I'm going to use it for this system. But this is a network-controlled BluSound node, and then if you look at the back of this thing over here, Mike, I don't know if we can get this because of the light. I'm going to turn this around that way. So the cool thing about this, so we have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. This is the analog zone 1 through 4. If you wanted to do digital, so I'm going to connect it digitally. So you have optical 1, optical 2, optical 3, optical 4. So we have digital zoning or analog zoning. And then you have a trigger. So the trigger out, which I'm going to connect, the trigger will then, when you tell your phone that you want to listen to something, this powers up. Leaves standby mode, powers up, and then we'll send the trigger to turn these devices on. So this is subwoofer number 1, subwoofer number 2, and then this is the speaker amplifier. Way overkill, certainly not necessary. I could do this whole thing on one amplifier, but you know, this is me we're talking about here. So this is a $4,500, 150 watt per channel. This is NAD's Juggernaut CI8-150. So it's an 8-channel, 150 watts per channel monster. You don't need this for these speakers, but I have one. It was my demo one, and so I'm going to use it out here. We'd probably do something a little more practical. And then these are 500, so this is 500 watts to one subwoofer, 500 watts to another subwoofer, because the sub-RCCs are passive. They don't have an amplifier built in. So this is the controller. This device is our BluSound node times 4. We really only need 3 because we have 3 zones. But this is our BluSound node. Then subwoofer amp, and then main amp. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to figure out if this works. One thing I'm not certain of, when you connect, so for zone 1, which is this here, so this pair of subwoofers and this pair of speakers, this I'm calling zone 1. So zone 1 is going to come out of optical 1, and I'm going into optical in on the amplifier. And because this is an 8-channel amp, and I only need 6 channels, I'm going to bridge channels 1 and 2, 3, and 4. So 1 and 2 we're going to bridge together. Channels 3 and 4 I'm going to use together. So I'm going to get about 400 watts per channel to these speakers here. These things are going to sound great. So I'm going to take this from an 8-channel down to a 6-channel amp. And so in the software, I'll show you that when we get to that, but in the software of the amp, I'm going to convert, I'm going to say optical 1, zone 1, is assigned to channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'll bridge this down. And so we're going to be able to do that in the software really, really easily. You don't have to have I haven't been trained on any of this, I just figured it out. So we're going to do that. And then what I'm hoping is, I'm hoping that it sends digital and analog out of each zone simultaneously, because then I'm using the analog out, I'm using a Y adapter to go left and right out, then take it down to mono and go into the LFE input of the subwoofer. Because the subwoofer is a mono, not a stereo connection. I could probably just run, I probably don't need to Y-adapt it, but I always feel better doing that, getting both left and right channel information, and then that's going into the subwoofer amp. So what I'm hoping is, zone 1 and 2, I'm going to put together, if you will. I don't know how that's going to work. I think what I'm going to have to do is this. I'm going to have to use zone 4. Yeah, in order for that to work. I don't know if I can combine, what I may have to do, yeah, this is what I need to do. So no Y adapter. We'll keep it like this. This is something I'm going to clarify. I'm not 100% sure how the software is going to work for this application. So I'm going to go left and right out like that. So that's zone 1, because I want both subwoofer amplifiers to be on zone 1. And then the optical out will go, this is zone 1 out, so these are going together, if you will. And in the amplifier, this amplifier here, I'll assign channels 1 through 4 to be part of zone 1. And then optical out number 2 is going into optical number 2, and that'll be assigned to channels 6 and 7, yeah, or 5 and 6. And then because the amplifier only has 2 optical ends, I'm going to go digital coax. Same idea, same connection. So digital, so it's sending the digital signal out to the amplifier, and then that'll be channel 7 and 8, which would be zone 3, assigned to zone 3. So then I have a little ubiquity network switch. So I have my home run back to the router in the garage. I'm going to go input, this is a PoE switch, input into the switch, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 outputs. This is just instant on, no need to assign any of this stuff. And then we'll go network into each of these devices, because you need the network connectivity, so that way I can tap into these to, set the crossovers and all that stuff, and assign inputs and outputs. So that's it. We set up the triggers, we set up the network, and we set up the input-output, and that's our system. Simple, right? So once I get this operational, and we start selling this stuff, in the future, I'll do some install guides and stuff. It's actually really, really simple to do this, and this is where it becomes a huge advantage over. To do this in Crestron would cost 10 times the amount, or maybe at least twice the amount equipment-wise. But then it's going to cost another 2 or 3 times in labor to do it. Where this, we can DIY it, to a large extent. As long as you can run wires, you can set this stuff up.
Okay, so Matt kind of briefed you on all the technical stuff, all the equipment. So I'm going to kind of let you know what I did. So went up in the attic. We are running a dedicated circuit for the audio equipment. That's coming down through that conduit, as well as we've got an Ethernet, dedicated Ethernet, because that doesn't do Wi-Fi, and our 4 back speakers here, 2 of the subs, these are OW8s, and then 4 OW8s that will eventually be out front. So that's all running to here. Matt's going to terminate and do that. I've got the power run up there. There's like I said, a 120 volt circuit that's also going to feed this the vent and the TV. So everything will just be on one circuit, which it's more than enough for this stuff. So anyway, that's all working through that. I got to go back up in the attic. I'm going to end up running it to the main panel in the master closet. So depending on what we do next, I may go do that, or I might install the speaker. So.
Okay, so this is all 12 gauge, 2 conductor wire. So you don't need 12 gauge for this, but I like to use 12 gauge.
So what I did here is everything's home run, obviously, from here, and then we were able to go through the soffit. I was able to access the soffit from this over here, where all this tongue and groove is. Fortunately, there's enough room. It gets a little tighter down there, but I were to get all the speaker wire run, and then over here we had to cut in for the subs. And you can't tell on camera, but there's trusses going this way, and we had to be mindful not to obviously cut through a truss. So that speaker's actually 3 inches off center from that one, but you can't even tell now that I see they're installed. Can't even tell. I was stressing over it, but Matt likes his symmetry, as do I. But that came out well. We also installed 4 extra cans because there wasn't enough light. So we did DMF retrofits, but we were short 1. So if anybody notices that one trim ring is brown, we're waiting for some more white ones, so we'll swap that out. But it made a huge difference in light output. It's double what it was. So, and we're going to probably end up having to dim it now. And then one other thing we have to do is I have to run ductwork for the top of that vent. It's a 12-inch duct that's going to go up through this TNG, and then I have a gooseneck duct that's going on the roof. That's obviously not audio, but since we're here, we'll talk about that. I'm going to install that on the roof. Now that the hurricane's over here in Lady Lake, lots of carnage with some limbs and leaves on the ground. Fortunately, we got lucky here. Anyway, so I'll install that probably next week sometime.
The other question a lot of people probably have is, well, Matt, what about it's outside? I'd rather put it on top of the cabinet than in the cabinet, because it will get hot out here. These are all Class D. This doesn't even have vents on it, so this one doesn't really produce any heat. But these are all pretty efficient amplifiers. This one here is, because it's such a hefty amp, but it has fan ventilation, so I'm not worried about the heat. And long-term humidity, I mean, let's say I get 10 years out of it instead of 15, and I'm not, me, I'm not going to be here that long. Polarity does matter on this, positive, negative. So the white strip on this one is the positive, I think.
The barrel.
I just don't know how this receives. I mean, I guess should work. So a normal trigger, a normal remote trigger wire would have a single, wouldn't have these two notches because it's not stereo.
Right.
Right. And so this is a headphone cable that I'm using as a remote trigger. See, these don't matter. This one doesn't matter. I'm just going to cut the end off of that because this has a Phoenix and a Phoenix. So, but this only has one out, so I'm going to try to put all these wires into this one spot. I like it better. Like home theater stuff will just have plug-ins. Like my receiver there, my preamp over there has headphone, quarter-inch connectors.
Right.
So I'm going to twist these all together.
So if you twist them together, it's only got to trigger one of these. So if you have them both twisted together, it's going to work.
Yeah. Theoretically, it's going to work.
Yeah, that'll short out, smoke everything, and then get new ones.
It's 12 volts. Yeah, it's not doing anything.
I'm kidding. Okay, so I'm going to mount the OW8s here on the wall above the window. So I was just kind of getting acclimated with how these mount. So they've got a trick little mount, and you basically have that much rotation. And when you get them where you want, you tighten down this set screw, pinches this together, and locks it in place. And then it's also got this little, I guess you call it drip proof, or it's not, I wouldn't say it's waterproof, but for outdoor speakers. So you got the speaker wire runs through here, and then you just pick a side for a positive and negative. This terminal allows you to either run it each channel goes to one terminal strip, or you can, like this was showing here, like if you wanted to daisy chain them together, like Matt was saying, like at a hotel or something like that, you would run just one channel, so it'd be mono, and then you just run them all in series. That's why they give you extra set of positive, negative. So we're just going to pick one side because we're going to run it stereo. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to hold it up there, get a height where Matt likes them, and then mark it, and I'll get them anchored, and then we'll start mounting them.
So this is coming out of the preamp. So the preamp, I'm going to the trigger out. So it's sending 12 volts through all these lines. It'll turn this on, turn this on, turn this on. So this thing has to tell the other things to turn on. All these have signal sensing, meaning like when it gets a signal, but it takes like, it can take 10 minutes for that to happen sometimes. This will be instant on. So this will stay on like a light standby all the time. And then if I activate it with my phone, this triggers the whole system to turn on. And so when you use this manual remote trigger, when you use this way of doing it, you end up with, it'll turn on in like 20 seconds. So the whole system will power up, as long as it takes the power up. So there's only one trigger output, so that's why I'm having to cut them and twist them all together here. There's no audio traveling through. This is just simple trigger, turn on, turn off. Trigger complete. This puppy's ready to go. I got to go up there and put a Cat 5 connector on the end. That'll take me a good 45 minutes. I freaking am incapable of doing that properly. I like watching networking guys or like, home theater installers, like they're freaking wizards at this. I'm like good enough to be like mediocre. Some of those guys would make this look like freaking perfection. Right there.
That's as low as that's going to hit the window right there, but.
Yeah, so I will want the bottom of it right at the window frame.
So you want them more straight out like that then? They don't need to be tilted down a bunch, do they?
Yeah, a decent amount.
About like that?
Yeah.
That's hitting the frame right there.
Yeah, so move it up a little bit. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah, right there.
I'm going to loosen this ball a bit and see if I can just spin the bolt into the, otherwise I got to spin the speaker on, because it's difficult to get to these anchors with the impact driver with the speaker attached. I guess I could. I can turn them sideways. Yeah, I guess I could have done that. Now I think about it, I kind of did it goofy. So I'm a little nervous those speakers are going to fall down. They're pretty heavy, they weigh probably 5-7 pounds, something like that. So I think these will do it. I think these are 1/2 inch. I think I'll just drill out the hole in the bracket. Oh, do we have enough though? Oh, we do. We have 4. So I need 2 for those back speakers. And the lighter OW6s, I guess I could use these 3/8, I'm kidding people. No, we're going to use 1/4 inch tap cones. 1/4 by 1 3/4. Yeah. So, man, I didn't realize we had these big ones. These are from think these are from the Helen house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And like this M2 giveaway going on right now.
Yeah. 8, 9. Yeah, there is that very car right there, Mike. If I think this is what I think we should do. Throw a little kicker in there. Anybody that wins, the trunk's full of cinnamon rolls. And they need to be fresh, so we need to drive home really fast to meet the person that wins them. And if we get pulled over, we just explain to them that, listen, man, someone just won this car. We promised them fresh, warm cinnamon rolls. We only got 3 hours to get to Florida from Helen. We had to drive 150 the whole way.
Take the rig.
Yeah, we can do that. We can drive all those cinnamon rolls to California if we need be, huh?
So we have optical on one channel, so it won't bring the impedance down, but it'll take 150 watts.
So I've got it all terminated inside. Got the strain relief tight. Just tighten. There's 4 screws that attach this, and even the screws are stainless, so this baby's definitely meant for outside. So now I'm going to loosen the screw here and swivel it the other way so I can get the other 2 screws in, and then this one will be done. And we'll just rinse and repeat over there on the other side. So I'm going to go grab a wrench. This is tight. This is what obviously allows it to pivot any direction you want. So now that and what would happen is the speaker can just do this on the bracket, so you got to tighten the lock nut. So I'll go grab a wrench and do that. Looks like it's a little crooked anyway. I need to straighten it up.
All right, so I'm gonna set all this up. I gotta install the speakers, get the TV in, and kind of go through that process. Kind of boring, nothing to show you. So we'll probably come back Monday, and for you it'll be instantaneous. But we'll come back and wrap this up. I gotta put a power strip up there, and I don't know if Mike's got the electrical run yet. I think he may have the electrical done. So I'm gonna just kind of get this in place and start to wire it up, all that kind of boring stuff, and then we'll get back to you next week to show you how it all comes together. The more practical, I actually have this amplifier. This is going to go to Helen. I'm going to use it up there, but this is the 8-120. So to go from to go from 120 to 150 is a pretty substantial jump. So actually in Helen, I have the 1660 up there. I'm going to add this 8-120 up there as well, and I have the CI8-150, I think it's called. It's another 8-channel amp. So in this system, this would be a more practical amplifier, but since I have that, I had it as a demo to take pictures and test out. We're doing this amplifier, but yeah, we'll get this done and come back to you once we get it set up, and I'll show you how it works.
Yeah, that's it, Mike. That one's in. So I'm gonna do the same over there, and then I've got 4 more to do out here. Now these, because of the height restriction, if you look out here, the soffit is lower than this ceiling. So I'm going to have to mount these brackets on sideways and mount the speaker. I guess I don't have to mount the bracket sideways. I can mount the bracket the same way because it can turn 90 degrees. So I'm going to mount the speakers long ways. Does that make sense? Rather than vertically, because they'll hit the soffit. So I'll run them like this. I think we need to get a lunch break, Mike. You know of a cinnamon roll place locally? Yeah. Is it 7? No, is that 700 round trip, Mike? Yeah. That's almost worth it. So we need a little cinnamon roll oven. Matt needs a pizza oven, really, honestly. Pizza oven right here, dude. All the cheeses and stuff and meats and sauces, just slop that stuff on. We come over here and make pizzas. Yeah. That'd be sick. Yeah, look at this, Mike. How many steaks we can fit on there? We could fit probably 5 mat-sized steaks on here, or like 15 or 20 normal steaks. Yep. This is the searing rack here, searing station here. Then you can see, let's see, a steak's about as big as my hand. 1, 2, 3, probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, probably 12 good sized steaks. And this is a little infrared. I hear some Top Gun. Do you hear that, Mike?
I didn't get to watch Top Gun, you know that?
Mike, it was epic. Yeah, I watched it in the theater room. Next time around, Mike.
You didn't consider that I was missing
You weren't
out.
there. I did consider it, Mike, but I was selfish. I was selfish.
Yeah. We were looking for the payoff.
Look at these losers. Hey, losers, get to work.
Look at these guys.
Huh? Let's go get lunch, Mike.
Yeah, they're chilling.
They're just doing some goofing.
They're doing product development.
That's it. Product research. They all have crushes on Tom Cruise.
All right, so we got the audio system done. Let me take you through all the different parts and pieces. You can see it's set up there. I know many of you are gonna get cranky about that. I wanted it right here, much simpler to wire up, nice and open air. We're covered here, and we don't have any water or anything like that. It'll be fine with the humidity as well. Plus these are all Class D amplifiers, so they'll run pretty cool. And then they all have vents and fans and stuff like that. And so I've got an old, what is it? Audio Quest, I believe. A little surge protector on the right, which you can't see. Michelle actually painted the conduit that's up there, so it doesn't look like much. It's the only place we had to cut a hole and run optical and all that stuff. So the equipment's there. CI580 on the top, the 2 subwoofer amplifiers, and then the monster 8-150. So remember, the 8-150 is bridged for these two. So these 2 channels, when you're driving 2 channels only, it's like 520 watts per channel. It's pretty awesome, which just means that these speakers don't need that much power, but means that the speakers are going to sound as good as they can. And then we have the OW8s, and then the 2 subwoofers here installed, nice and set up. I'll show you in a second how to tune those, how I had to tune those and set those up for the system. And then I was trying to get a hold of some OW8s for out here, but it sounds so darn good. These are OW6s, so the 6-inch woofers, and there's no reason to change them. So I'm going to leave them just like this. Save myself a couple $1,000 having these out here and having 4 of them. You could probably get away with doing just 2, but it does help evenly disperse the audio. And I can switch between left and right set, so it actually works out pretty well. So let me show you what you have to do, because this is all network stuff, and this is what can scare you away. I don't know much about networking. Let me turn this brightness up. I was working on my sonic stuff. So what I did is I bought an app, which is like a few bucks, called LAN Scan. So I can scan my network. Probably shouldn't show you this stuff, but you get the idea. So if I grab the Audiocontrol IP address and I just type it into my Google Chrome browser or whatever browser I'm using. So now I'm connected to the device, connected to it. I renamed it to Left Kitchen Sub. They have in the software, so you go do a firmware update. So all I did was go to audiocontrol.com, went to the RS500. It shows you what the latest firmware is. You just grab the file, you click update, and then I probably still have it in my downloads folder here. So here it is. Here's the RS500 update. So I just go and grab that, double click on it, it'll update the firmware. And then in the speaker setup, they have a pre-tuned sub RCC setup for the amplifier. I brought the trim down -1. I set my crossover at 80 hertz, so I have playing from 15 up to 80, and normal 12 dB slope. And so I've got, that's what I did to each subwoofer. So there's a left sub and right sub. Active zones. So I have 3 active zones, so this is a little confusing. You just go and click 3, and then that'll make sure that in your app, so in your application, it'll say zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and then you just go into the app and rename them. So outdoor kitchen, right pool area, left pool area. You do that in the app, not in the software. Last thing was to set up the amplifiers. The amplifier, you really need the IP address. You could sit here and just start typing in, or again, download this LAN Scan app, and then I can have access to all my devices. So here's my amplifier. And so you have the ability to assign your input output. So in my case, because this is really, really simple, it's amazing how easy this is. So I've got these all set up as optical, except for, remember I showed you that the one connection needed to be coax. So I have the ability to bridge these. So I'm bridging channels 1 and 2. And so channels 1 and 2 is coming in through optical input 1, channels 3 and 4 is also coming through optical input 1. And so that's the optical 1 out or zone 1 out of the CI580, and you just go in here to the software. I'm telling you, I know I'm confusing you here, but it's really, really self-explanatory. And so these channels here, I have added no additional gain because of how much power I have, but the other 4 channels, the ones on the backside here, because these aren't getting as much power as the bridged, so I found that it worked best if I had these at plus 5 dB. So I added the gain to channel 6, 7, and 8. But I could go and I could, add a roll off to the speakers and do some adjusting to what's going to the Dynaudio speakers, not the subwoofer. But for purposes of what I'm doing here, everything works pretty well. I've turned the 12-volt trigger on so it knows to receive the trigger. You don't want to use eco mode. Eco mode's dumb. Always check for software updates. Oh, there's an update. And the last thing we set up was the TV. So the way the TV is set up, so this is a LG 6599 QNED. So it's a mini LED LCD display, because out here an OLED wouldn't work for squat. It's hard enough to see this one. It's on the Sennheiser Ultra Slim. I think it's called like the LL11-B1, the ultra flat, ultra slim. And so I did that. I used the little spacer kit that comes with it. And then we have an Apple TV 4K behind the display. And then I'm running HDMI out of the Apple TV into the display, and then optical out of the display up to the CI580. The only problem with doing that is that volume has to be controlled by the app. The TV won't control volume, which I wasn't aware of, but there's no HDMI input to this CI stuff. Really, it's just for background listening. If I wanted to do something like watch TV or watch some football, I would do it in the background. But if let's say I'm on the outdoor kitchen and I wanted to play something from the TV, I have to go over here to my inputs, and I would just choose the optical input there, and it would switch over to play whatever's playing on the TV. The other cool thing about this system is that let's say that I'm listening in the outdoor kitchen and I wanted to listen to just the right pull speaker area. I just hit plus, free music here. So let me just bring that down so it's not going to get us a copyright strike. So this is what I think is really cool once I get some other areas of the house set up. So I have the M17. If I had some other speakers that were set up in here, which I'm probably going to do in the future, I'd be able to just hand off. So if I wanted to go from outdoor kitchen and just hand off to the right pull area, I just hit this arrow, and I can choose hand off to the right pull area, and it'll just handshake. It'll turn these off and send the song play in real time right from one to the next. There it goes. Super, super simple, super clean. So the cool thing about the way this system is designed, the way that I've set it up, this is really best for audio. If we're going to do a video focus system, we probably wouldn't want to do this, just because of how it's set up. I'd want to do like one of their receivers or something like that. But because this is audio focus with an afterthought of just having the ability to listen to some TV, the other disadvantage is the audio is coming out of here and the TV's over there. So I've actually set it up to where the TV volume, the TV speakers, I can turn those on as well. And so it's set up as optical plus TV speakers, and I can adjust the volume on the TV if I wanted to play those for some reason as well. So that's the outdoor kitchen audio system. We added it up, I think with the display, what did I say? It was like 13.5 or something like that. Actually, it's going to be less than that because I decided to leave the OW6s. So you're talking about somewhere around $12,000 to do this setup. Complete overkill. We could cut this down. We could do a system just like this for half as much. Do some PSB outdoor speakers instead. Still do the CI580, but not do such a robust. That's a $4,500 amplifier. We could do it with an amplifier that's a quarter of that cost, and still get some quality audio out here, out in your pool deck area. So if you had a 3-zone, 6 pairs of speakers. You could also skip the subwoofers. The subwoofers add such a huge cost to this setup. But if you wanted something identical to this, you're looking at $12,000, $13,000 with the TV, Apple TV, the whole thing. costs quite a bit extra to do it this way. I'm cheating a little bit because I'm a dealer for all this stuff, so I get it a lot less money for a lot less money, about half of that. But still, I mean, to spend $6 grand or $8 grand on your outdoor pool deck is a lot of money. But if you value audio, it's something that I think will pay dividends over the years. Equipment should last a long, long time. It's all software updatable, so I shouldn't have to touch the system for many years. Even out here in the elements, it's covered. This equipment should not have a problem for a decade. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hit me up. Just shoot me an email. I started training my guys on this stuff. Matt at obsessgarage.com. There's lots and lots of dealers throughout the country that do this stuff for a living. But for those of us who don't want to try to track one of them down and do it ourselves, I can help you figure this out. You can watch this video, show you how to do it. It's really, if you have some audio background, I mean, you could teach you how to do this in 15 minutes. Really, really simple stuff. That's what's so cool about it. No advanced programming necessary. All you have to do is, I don't know how to do this, so just figure out how to get an IP scanner app and find the IP address, type it into my browser, and then I can do whatever I need to do. It's not a lot of settings, not a lot of adjustment, really, really simple. So thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll give you an update on the finish of the outdoor kitchen as well. If you haven't watched that series, make sure to go check it out.